If you have to wonder whether she truly cares or is just keeping you around until someone better comes along, then deep down, you already know. That quiet discomfort in your chest, that tension in your gut, that's your intuition trying to shake you awake. But most men, they don't listen. They silence that voice with hope, with excuses, with memories of the good moments that don't align with the reality they live in now. And that silence, that denial, it costs them everything. We live in a world full of emotional performances. People play roles. They know what to say, how to act when the spotlight's on them. But the truth shows up when no one's watching, when there's nothing to gain. And if you're paying attention, her actions will tell you everything. You won't need to decode her words if you just study her behavior. Does she show up when you need her? Or does she disappear the moment things aren't easy anymore? Does she support your growth or make you feel like you're too much, too intense, too focused? That's your answer. And yet, so many men stay, not because they don't see the truth, but because they're afraid of what it means. Afraid to admit they chose wrong. Afraid to face the loneliness that follows walking away. So they cling to false hope. They beg for breadcrumbs of affection. They turn themselves inside out to please someone who barely notices. All while their self-respect quietly bleeds out, drop by drop, until one day they look in the mirror and don't recognize the man staring back. The painful reality is, it's easier to believe her lies than to confront your own reflection. Because once you admit she doesn't care, you're forced to answer a harder question. Why did you let her stay? You see, most men don't fall into these traps because they're weak or stupid. They fall because they're loyal, because they believe in giving people chances, because they think that proving their worth will inspire love. But love that needs to be proven through self-sacrifice isn't love. It's dependence. It's manipulation wrapped in a pretty disguise. And here's the catch. When a woman truly cares, you won't feel confused. You won't have to ask if she values you. Her presence will speak louder than any romantic phrase ever could. She'll respect your time. She'll uplift you. She'll stand beside you when it matters, not just when it's easy. And when she doesn't, when she makes you feel small, disposable, like an afterthought, don't call it love. Call it what it is, a trap designed to keep you stuck. Men don't become broken in one blow. They break slowly over time by tolerating 1,000 little insults to their soul. A canceled plan here, a dismissive glance there, a flirtation brushed off as nothing. These things add up, and if you keep swallowing them, if you keep pretending not to notice, you become a man who tolerates disrespect. And once you do that, once you set that precedent, she and the world will follow your lead. It's not her job to fix that. It's yours. Because the truth is, if you stay in a relationship that makes you feel insecure, if you accept affection only when it's convenient for her, you're not being loyal. You're being afraid. Afraid to be alone. Afraid to start over. Afraid that maybe you don't deserve better. But you do. You always did. You just forgot. Real love doesn't leave you guessing. Real care doesn't come with conditions. And if someone's presence brings more anxiety than peace, it's not your partner, it's your prison. Stop calling it something noble. Call it what it is. Fear disguised as devotion. You want freedom? It starts the moment you stop accepting half-love from people who don't know how to give more. The moment you stop letting someone's mixed signals dictate your worth. The moment you finally decide that your peace matters more than your loneliness. That's when you reclaim your power. That's when you become the kind of man who doesn't settle, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. She doesn't have to be evil to hurt you. She just has to be careless. And if you let that carelessness continue, it's no longer her fault. It's yours. People only treat you the way you train them to. And if you keep showing her that she can get away with giving you less, she will. Not because she's cruel, but because you allowed it. So stop waiting for her to change. Stop hoping she'll see your worth after enough sacrifice. That's not how love works. That's not how respect is built. You don't earn someone's loyalty by bleeding for it. You earn it by refusing to bleed for someone who won't even bring you a bandage. This isn't about being angry at her. This is about waking up It's about standing tall in a world that tries to bend you. It's about refusing to be anyone's second option. If you don't learn this now, you'll keep repeating the same heartbreak in a different body over and over again. So remember this: when her actions make you doubt, that doubt is not weakness. It's wisdom. Listen to it. Honor it. Because the cost of ignoring the truth is always more than you're willing to pay. There comes a moment when the pain outweighs the hope, when you finally realize you've been holding on to an illusion. At first, you convince yourself it's love. You tell yourself she's just going through something, that she'll come around, that maybe if you're just a little more patient, a little more understanding, she'll finally see your worth. But days turn into weeks, and the silence grows louder. Her indifference becomes a routine, and deep down you start to feel it, the slow erosion of your dignity. You begin to question everything, not just her, but yourself. Maybe you're not enough. Maybe you're too much. You replay every word, every glance, every missed message trying to decode what went wrong. But the truth is, nothing changed. She simply never saw you the way you wanted her to. And that truth is brutal, but it's also the key to your freedom, because the longer you ignore it, the more damage it does. You carry that rejection like a wound that never quite heals. It shapes how you see yourself, how you treat others, how you let others treat you. The anger builds, the resentment simmers, and slowly you become a shadow of the man you used to be. Suspicious, closed off, cold. You start believing every woman is the same, every relationship is a game. You shut down, or worse, you become the very thing that hurt you. And that's how the cycle continues. Broken people breaking others, until someone decides to break the pattern. And it begins with a single terrifying act: telling yourself the truth. No more sugarcoating, no more excuses, no more blaming the situation or clinging to some potential that only exists in your imagination. You face what's in front of you with eyes wide open, because the truth, no matter how painful, is your way out. A woman who truly cares won't leave you guessing. She won't disappear and reappear when it suits her. She won't treat you like a placeholder. You won't feel like an afterthought. You won't have to beg for consistency or piece together her feelings from crumbs of attention. That's not love. That's control. That's emotional manipulation wrapped in false hope. And it's your responsibility to walk away from it, not to hurt her, not to get revenge, but because you owe it to yourself to stop settling for less than you deserve. That's what self-respect looks like. It's not loud. It's not about showing off or proving a point. It's quiet, steady. It's the decisions you make every day. It's saying no to the wrong things even when you're lonely. It's holding your standards even when it hurts. It's trusting that the right people will recognize your worth without you having to perform for it. Because the hard truth is this: if someone wants you in their life, you'll know it. They won't make you chase them. They won't leave you in confusion. Love doesn't live in uncertainty. And when you finally accept that, when you stop chasing potential and start honoring your reality, everything changes. You begin to reclaim your time, your energy, your power. You stop analyzing every message. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop waiting for someone else to choose you. You choose yourself. And from that place of clarity, you move forward, not bitter, not broken, but wiser, stronger, more intentional. And no, it's not easy. Walking away never is, especially when you've invested your heart. But staying in something that's slowly destroying you, that's the real tragedy. That's the real loss. So you make the hard choice. You let go. You draw a line. Not out of anger, but out of love. For yourself. Because at the end of the day, your peace matters. Your dignity matters. And once you learn to live like that, you'll never settle again. You'll never let someone else's inconsistency define your worth. You'll never beg for the bare minimum. You'll never mistake confusion for connection. And when the right person comes along, and they will, you'll recognize them not by how much you have to guess, but by how clearly you are seen. It's not through words, not through excuses, but through consistent action that someone will show you their true intentions. If they don't, the message is clear. Stop asking questions, stop running in circles, and start living with the self-respect you deserve. But why do so many people ignore the truth that's right in front of them? Why do they pretend not to see the signs of disinterest, manipulation, or emotional neglect? It's easier. It's easier to live in denial than to face the painful reality that the person you care about may not feel the same. And that sting, that heartbreak, can break you. It forces you to look at a truth you're not ready to accept. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you try, you can't force someone to care. But here's where it gets even worse. Most people don't just ignore these signs. They excuse them, they rationalize them, they create stories about why someone's not reciprocating their feelings. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're going through something. Maybe it's something I did. Maybe if I wait just a little longer, things will change. But that thinking, it's poison. It holds you captive in a loop of doubt, slowly eroding your sense of self-worth, while you continue giving your all to someone who's not prioritizing you. What does that do to you? It wears you down. It feeds anxiety, insecurity, and desperation. It trains you to accept scraps instead of demanding what you deserve, turning you into someone who's always chasing but never receiving. And here's the tragedy. You don't even realize how much damage you're doing to yourself until it's too late. One day, you wake up and the person staring back at you in the mirror is someone you don't even recognize. You're drained, bitter, resentful. And why? Because you've spent months, maybe years, trying to prove your worth to someone who never truly saw it. That's the real danger. When you lose yourself in an unhealthy relationship, you don't just lose the person. You lose your confidence. You lose your ability to trust your own judgment. You start questioning everything, your instincts, your decisions, even your reality. And that's a dangerous place to be. So how do you escape? You wake up. You stop pretending, stop ignoring the truth. You start seeing people for who they truly are, not for who you wish they were. And that requires courage. It requires letting go of the fantasy you've built in your mind. The one where if you try harder, if you're good enough, if you wait long enough, they'll finally see you. But that's not how it works. You don't earn love by proving yourself. You don't win someone's affection by sacrificing your dignity, your self-respect, or your sense of self. Real love doesn't require you to beg, doesn't require you to suffer. The moment you understand that, when you finally accept reality for what it is, something incredible happens. You free yourself. You stop chasing. You stop waiting. You stop handing your happiness over to someone who doesn't see you the way you deserve to be seen. And do you know what happens next? You get stronger. You rebuild yourself. You reshape into someone who demands respect. Not through arrogance or manipulation, but simply by knowing your worth and refusing to settle for anything less. When you respect yourself, when you value yourself, you begin to attract people who respect you too. You draw in relationships that are built on mutual effort, not one-sided desperation. But if you don't, if you keep ignoring the signs, making excuses, staying in situations that drain you, then you're making a choice. You're choosing to stay in limbo in relationships that don't serve your highest good, and that choice has consequences. So what kind of life do you want? Do you want to be someone who settles for whatever crumbs of attention they're given? Or do you want to be someone who chooses self-respect? Someone who demands honesty, who refuses to waste time in relationships that don't fulfill their potential? The choice is yours. And the moment you choose to value yourself first, everything changes. The people you attract change. The way you carry yourself changes. The way you see yourself changes. And that's when you realize that the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from anything that doesn't honor your worth. When you ignore the truth, when you silence that inner voice telling you something's not right, when you push aside your instincts because you desperately want to believe the relationship is what you wish it could be, let me tell you what happens. You betray yourself. You become complicit in your own suffering, and that's an unforgivable act. Not because someone else is doing it to you, but because you're doing it to yourself. People get caught in this trap all the time. They invest in someone who doesn't invest in them. And instead of walking away, they double down. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, wait longer, prove their worth, things will change. Let me be clear. Waiting doesn't fix a broken dynamic. Hope doesn't repair neglect. Love, real, honest, reciprocal love, doesn't need to be forced. It's not something you beg for. And yet, people stay in relationships where they're not valued, where they're not seen, thinking they're being patient or loyal. What they're really doing is allowing themselves to be used. What they're really doing is teaching themselves to accept less than they deserve. They're wasting time that could be spent on something real, something that nourishes their soul instead of depleting it. Why does this happen? Why do people stay in one-sided relationships where they give and give but never receive? Because they're afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of the unknown. And that fear paralyzes them, keeps them settling for crumbs when they should be demanding the whole feast. The longer they stay, the harder it gets to leave. They convince themselves that maybe this is all they deserve, that this is just how relationships are. But that's a lie. And once you believe it, once you accept that this is the best you can get, you lose yourself. You lose your confidence. You lose your standards. Once your standards are gone, once you stop believing you deserve better, you open the door to manipulation, to neglect, to relationships that drain you. That's not the life you want. So what do? You set boundaries, and you enforce them ruthlessly. You decide you won't tolerate emotional games. You won't entertain inconsistency. You won't waste another second trying to convince someone to care for you the way you deserve. Because the truth is, once you have to convince someone to value you, you've already lost. If they can't see your worth, if they can't meet you halfway, if they can't give the same effort you're putting in, they're not the right person for you. And you have to be strong enough to accept that. You have to be brave enough to walk away. Because if you don't, you'll spend your entire life settling. You'll look back and realize you wasted years, maybe decades, on people who never truly cared. That's a tragedy. But here's the good news. You have a choice right now. You can decide that you will never lower your standards for anyone. You can demand more. You can walk away from anything that doesn't serve your highest potential. And once you do that, something incredible happens. You start attracting people who respect you, who value you, who show up for you without you begging. That's what real love is. Real love doesn't require you to chase. It doesn't require you to convince. It's earned through mutual effort and care. And once you understand that, once you accept it, you'll never settle for less again. And that will be the moment your life changes forever.